Welcome back now, Module 2, Lecture 3. We're going to talk about a tool called a histogram. It's a bar chart, but guess what? The bars just fall into whatever place they belong in. We don't just move the tallest bar off to the left like we did on the Pareto chart. A histogram will show us how things are actually happening in the world. It's a graphic display where the data is grouped into ranges. Each bar is plotted as a range of data. Shows us information as it actually exists. Allows us to make decisions. What we're looking at with all of these tools is what are causing us problems and what kind of solutions can we put in place to deal with those problems. Histogram is a thing that will help us focus in on areas where we want to put our efforts. It's one way to display and examine what's going on. We're just looking at what's going on out here in the world. Three most common characteristics. We have shape, we have central tendency, and we have dispersion. So let's talk about those three things because they're going to all give us some good information that will help us focus in on where to look to solve some of our problems. Shape. Let's take a look at what the shape of this histogram is like. So we can have the shape of a histogram like this, or we can have these other shapes. Skewed to the right, skewed to the left, uniform, or the typical bell-shaped curve. In most situations, if you gather enough samples of what's going on, you'll get something very close to a bell-shaped curve. It may be skewed one direction or the other, but very close to a bell-shaped curve. This one's skewed off to the right. What happened here? Well, this is a class that's gotten some grades. Let's say this is a class in biology that happens to be at a Big Ten university who accepts every student that applies from that state. You can't turn down a student. They get to come to the university no matter what their SAT or ACT scores might happen to be. Doesn't make any difference. They all get to come there. So right away, in their freshman year, there's a couple of classes the university puts in to just start to weed out the people that really can't keep up, or the people that just won't. Or it might focus some of those people that are having a hard time going to school and taking care of the classwork instead of, gee, it's my freshman year, I think partying's kind of fun. It may refocus those people. So these classes are not easy to get through. And you may end up with a lecture class of 600 people, and this is what the grade dispersion looks like. Skewed off to the left. Purposely made to be a very hard class. Very few people get A's or B's. A lot of people get less than C's. Or we may have a class that's designed really well. The instructor has laid the class out well. There's a lot of transfer of knowledge from the instructor to the students. It's been laid out so that people can actually do the work, understand it, it's clear, and all you have to do is just do the work required by the class and you're able to get a good grade. This is the kind of class where everybody comes in with an A and it's really theirs to lose. And it's very hard to lose that A. You have to work pretty hard at doing that. Although some people do. So a different way to look at a class. And so you'll see different shapes to the classes because of this. One of them, this is a pretty tough class to get through. This one, this is an easier class to get through. Designed better and designed purposely to transfer knowledge. We may end up with a curve shape like this. We may end up with a bell-shaped curve like this. In the old days when people used to use the bell-shaped curve to give people grades, didn't make any difference actually what you did, it just made a difference how you compared to the other people in the class. There's another element that comes into play with this and why we want to look at central tendency. If we are doing something for a group of stakeholders, they have some expectations. They want it to be at least this good, and they don't want it really any better than this because they now start to perceive that if it's better than that, they're having to pay more money than they really need to. So we don't want to put too many extra things in there because now people say, too much. I don't want to pay for that extra. So they have an idea of, I'm kind of looking at this range in here. We want all of the things that we do to fall within that range someplace, all of our efforts to fall in there. It may be that we have a curve that's pushed off to the right here, where we're taking care of everything that our stakeholders need and we're giving them some extra. Now in this class that we're looking at, Most people in the class are doing fine, but we have a whole bunch of people up here that they're not even challenged by this class. The class needs to be redesigned so that it takes care of everybody. We also have another class that may not have been designed quite right because there's a bunch of people that are just left behind. It's challenging to the higher level students in the class, but some of the other students, they're not able to keep up at all. It's not valued to them at all in either of these cases. So we need to figure out, how do we put this class together so everybody is getting something out of this class? This is what it would look like. Now we get it put together so everybody's getting something out of the class. Central tendency. 3 measures of central tendency: mean, median, and mode. And I'm sure you've all heard these terms before. We'll just quickly go over them one more time. We're just talking about kind of where is the middle of this histogram. However you want to define middle, that's what these three things are all about. The middle. Mean. The mean is the sum of all the measures divided by the total number of measures, which means what we're looking at is the average. And most of the time when people talk about we're going to look at the center of something, we're talking about the mean. If we take a look at, let's just examine the mean one more time. Mean is just that average piece. Median now is the middle. We just draw a line down the middle so that this thing is divided into 2 equal parts. It doesn't have anything to do with the average, it's the middle part. If you think as the median strip in the freeway, that's what it is. It's just that dividing piece right in the middle. And then we have mode. Mode is simply when we put all these numbers together, A plus, A minus, B plus, C, D, other, incomplete. One of those comes up the most. Which thing comes up the most? That's the mode. It's the easiest to identify because we just look at all the numbers and numbers or values and say, oh, that one comes up the most number of times. And a lot of times it's the least useful way to do things. The mean or the median are usually much more useful measures of central tendency than the mode. Although the mode is there for you for sometimes when you may be able to use that. We're also looking at dispersion. What does the shape of this thing look like? Is it all squished out here and it just kind of things just sort of happen all along the way? Or, gee, kind of in the middle here, there's kind of an area where people are starting to do better? Or this third one, yeah, we've really got something that's working really well, and most everybody is hovered around that central part there, and everybody's getting a lot out of this class. So we're looking at the voice of the customer, and these are our specification limits out here, upper and lower that we've been talking about, and these are all of our data points along the way. So what does this curve look like compared with what people are expecting from us? Dispersion and standard deviation. There's all kinds of calculations you get into with standard deviations and dispersion. And one of the things that comes out of all of this is a term that we hear once in a while called 6 sigma. All we're trying to do, if you hear that term 6 sigma, is it means we're just trying to do almost everything right. Simply what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that all of that histogram is within those requirements that our customers have given us. So dispersion might look like this, where everything is pretty centrally located around that mean, or we've got some things starting to spread out a little farther from the mean. Some customers really, really happy, some customers not quite so happy, or we have almost all of our customers equally happy. Everybody's happy with this thing. The value of histograms give us 3 measures: the shape, the central tendency, and the dispersion. And we can make well-founded decisions based on the information that we get from these things, and then we can have effective actions that we take.